Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 1st of June, 2021. Alright everyone, first day of winter for me down here in Melbourne. It's getting a bit cold lately, missing those summer days. I know in the US it's just got to summer. I guess like the Northern Hemisphere is pretty much all summer right now, but a lot of my US friends keep going on about summer and how they're going to be going outside and enjoying all the sun, and I'm like, yeah, that was cool during the kind of like holiday period around Christmas, and it's always funny, like it's just flipped for most of the world and the Southern Hemisphere, because obviously most of the world is in the Northern Hemisphere. But anyway, I'll move on from that for now. So I put out a tweet today saying that I'm helping the Arbitrum team to find a passionate marketing community person to help them with their mission to scale Ethereum here. So if that is you, or you know anyone that might be interested in this role, please DM me on Twitter. And it's not just Arbitrum. There's a bunch of other teams also asking me for people as well. So please reach out on Twitter if this is someone, if you're someone that fits into this role. I really do get asked mostly for marketing and community people, and you may be wondering, what does that entail? Well, a lot of marketing tends to entail a lot of content related work, so writing blog posts, writing tweets, coming up with campaigns, stuff like that. And community stuff is like, it's pretty self-explanatory, but like sitting in the Discord channel, responding to tweets, getting to know people within the community, and the community members and things like that, managing all the social channels and stuff. So if that's something that you are interested in doing, you want to do, and you're happy to do, definitely reach out to me. I mean, I did it for about 18 months. It was, the best job I had ever had. Honestly, it was so much fun. I never had like a marketing or kind of community management background either. So I learned it all kind of like on the job. And I think, you can do that in this industry. So if you're just a passionate person in crypto, you have a lot of crypto knowledge that you'd like to impart onto others, and you want to help an earlier stage team like kind of Arbitrum. And, I've talked about Arbitrum a lot, but they just went live with their developer mainnet last week. They're definitely in need of a marketing person to kind of spread the word about this. So yeah, I couldn't, honestly, I would join and do this for them if I had the time, because I feel like this would be a really fun role. So definitely go check this out if that's something you're interested in. And DM me if you want to learn more about it. So speaking of, I guess, scaling solutions, we had one of the biggest announcements from the last 24 hours was that zkSync 2.0's alpha testnet is now live, which features their headline technologies, the zkEVM and zkPorter. So the zkEVM is the zero-knowledge EVM, and zkPorter is their scaling technology, which kind of puts together zk rollups and I think Validium. I think that's the other solution, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, they promise 100,000 plus transactions per second using zkPorter. But I think for me, the headline feature really is the zkEVM. So the zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machine, which essentially allows for EVM-compatible zk rollups to exist, which is considered by a lot of people to be the holy grail. There are obviously trade-offs here with all these kind of roll-up solutions and stuff like that. Nothing's perfect here. This is still early test nets, but zkSync is claiming that the Solidity smart contracts are almost here. So they're built with their I think this is their language, LLVM here, and their compiler can already compile this all down and everything like that to EVM bytecode. The core infrastructure is functional and everything like that, and they were able to meet their May deadline, but it was really tight. Obviously, this came out, I guess, like the last day of May here. But anyway, this is awesome. I mean, like I've been saying for a few weeks now, there's going to be all of these solutions going live over, I guess like the summer period for the Northern Hemisphere, winter period for Southern Hemisphere. And we've already had like Arbitrum. Optimism is technically live, just not in like a very public mainnet capacity just yet. Starkware is working diligently on their solution, which they promised for kind of, I think, June, at least, I think was their first iteration of it. And zkSync has promised their mainnet in August. And obviously the testnet is live here now. So those are kind of like the four big ones that a lot of people are paying attention to. There are a bunch of others out there as well, of course, but these are like the four big ones here. So there's already a testnet explorer up for zkSync 2.0 here. In this blog post, they go through kind of everything that's with that kind of like is coming with this release has come with this release, how it's all working, how they're able to do kind of like zero knowledge EVM compatibility, EVM compatibility with zk proofs here. They also put together this kind of graphic where they compare sidechains, optimistic rollups, zkSync 2.0 and zkSync 2.0 with eth2 data sharding. I love the zkSync team, but whenever I see these kind of things coming from one particular team, I always take it with a grain of salt because obviously there's bias here. But I think that it's pretty accurate. I mean, a sidechain definitely is more programmable and scalable. Is definitely programmable and scalable, but it definitely lacks the decentralization of Ethereum and in turn the security of Ethereum here. Optimistic rollups, I don't know if I would say that they're that bad on scalability. They're actually pretty good with scalability and especially with data sharding as well. And I believe that they're very good on security decentralization too. But, zkSync is claiming that they're better across a lot of these metrics, which, remains to be seen. We'll see how it plays out on kind of like mainnet here. But I always take these things with a grain of salt anyway. But still, I mean, for me, like I've been saying for a little while, a lot of these layer 2 solutions need to just deliver and get their stuff out there into developers' hands to build their products on top of this. And, once I see that, I kind of like stop being, very skeptical about it. And that's exactly what zkSync has done here. Actually, the zkSync team made some grand kind of claims a few weeks back about, what they're bringing with zkPorter and stuff like that. And I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm super skeptical because anytime someone promises something this big, I get skeptical. But from the people that I've spoken to, some of the smartest people that I've spoken to, they say that zero knowledge proofs in general are kind of like they aren't too good to be true. They are that good. Still though, I'm waiting to see some real apps live on this that I can use myself and that we can all use and know and love using this kind of new technology here. But again, I don't have any reason to doubt these kind of teams out there. I just want, there's been so much talk over the years of layer 2 stuff. I just want to see it kind of functional before I kind of promote it as the holy grail. And that goes for all of them. I mean, Arbitrum and Optimism and Starkware, all of this sort of stuff. zkSync was live with their Gitcoin integration. It worked really well. Starkware's technology is being used by a number of apps. Arbitrum has the testnet, which worked quite well. From the developers I've spoken to, they're having a really fun time with Arbitrum. And also Optimism obviously has been working with kind of synthetics and stuff like that as well. So yeah, but still really, really great to see this. This is just huge, honestly. I don't think we're going to need 100,000 transactions per second for a little while we kind of scale up the industry and more people come on board and things like that. But I do think that the fact that we're already at that kind of milestone or almost there, because I think the 100,000 TPS is with eth2 data sharding, that is amazing. I mean, Visa's 40,000 transactions per second, which is a global payments network. So if you can have one kind of zkSync instance just running a global payments network or kind of one other layer 2 instance doing this, that would be absolutely huge. And I think that that's kind of the holy grail or the end game as they call it here. So definitely going to keep an eye on that and see where kind of how this progresses for sure. And this was just something really nice to wake up to today, because I think that the more of these solutions out there, the more, I guess, the narrative just completely changes and people say, well, Ethereum can scale, and gas fees are still quite low right now. I mean, at the moment, they're 20 Gwei. I don't know if this will come up on the screen. It doesn't. Rapid's 21 Gwei and under 20 for normal transactions here. So it's kind of insane to see that, but I do think that that's a very temporary thing just because the market's quiet right now. Once the market heats up again, gas fees will spike and people will be complaining again. So, rolling out these layer 2s during a quiet market is actually pretty cool, because then when the gas fees spike again, people will be like, oh, well, I can just use layer 2 now instead of having to sit at layer 1 here. So great to see this from zkSync anyway. And I am just never been more excited about the general kind of layer 2 space here. So this kind of Ethereum Treasuries website was launched today by, I think, a couple of people here, a couple of people that I hadn't actually heard of before, but they DM'd me and said, hey, check out our kind of Ethereum Treasuries website here. And they've posted it on Product Hunt. So if I go here to the actual website, you can see what this is. So essentially, it's a list of companies and funds that have ETH on their balance sheet here. And they link to kind of proof of it and stuff like that and purchase filings. I mean, this was expanding before. I'm not sure why it's not expanding now. But it was expanding, and they had links here to kind of I guess like see where the ETH was, where the address is, where their announcement was, and you can see here like the biggest companies out there like Grayscale Ethereum Trust holds a lot of ETH here. Maitu, that was that kind of like Hong Kong public company who bought more ETH than BTC, and a bunch of others here like I guess Coinbase has a lot on their balance sheet, of course, and other ETFs and stuff like that. So yeah, really cool to see this. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot more institutional interest in Bitcoin over the last year, and it's just started for ETH as well. I've seen some companies dabble in this, but I think the institutional flows for all of crypto seem to be on pause right now, or at least they haven't been publicly announced yet. I think at the end of Q2, we're going to see kind of like, I think that ends June 30th, we're going to see a lot of these public companies do their earnings reports, and they're going to say they hold the ETH on their balance sheet, because I think the run up to 4.4k ETH was definitely got to do with a lot of them. But yeah, I'm curious to see how many kind of announce this, but great to see that there's a website tracking this now. Definitely going to link this in the YouTube description. You can go check it out for yourself. So Bitfly put out a tweet today that it's been the 6 months since the Beacon Chain launch. So for those who don't know, the Beacon Chain, it launched on December 1st, 2020. So today's June 1st, 2021, which is 6 months since then. And since then, 5 million plus ETH has been staked, which is around 5% of the ETH supply. There's 153,000 active validators, 30,000 unique Ethereum deposit addresses, and 99.x% blocks were successfully proposed. So almost 100% kind of uptime here. I think there was that like tiny hiccup with the Prism client the other day that kind of put us just off 100%. But still, the network besides that has been running absolutely amazingly. It's actually, I've spoken about this before, but it's actually really amazing like how well the network has been running this whole time. Given that it is a brand new consensus mechanism, it's based on brand new kind of like research that is definitely bleeding edge, has been around for a while, but definitely bleeding edge, and it's something that has never existed before in the world in any kind of fashion. Ethereum's proof of stake is not like distributed proof of stake or DPoS or any of these other kind of proof of stake systems that you're used to. It is unique and novel and completely new kind of across the board here. So to see such a successful first 6 months is absolutely amazing, and this is actually one of the prerequisites, or at least the main prerequisite for the merge. So I think all the researchers and developers would love to see 6 to 12 months of perfect kind of running of the Beacon chain before they felt comfortable merging in ETH1, and I think we're going to get that. And speaking of the merge as well, Jeff Lau here from ENS Domains put together an amazing thread breaking down what the merge is and kind of like how it all ties into kind of sharding and like the broader eth2 roadmap here, and why it was prioritized over sharding. So I'll let you read this thread for yourself in the YouTube description. It covers it's got a few links to different resources here as well that you can go check out to learn more about this, and it covers a lot of what I've spoken about on the refuel really well. Just recaps it in a really nice and kind of like single thread here, and I'm really glad to see Jeff doing more threads, because if you remember, I actually featured, I'm pretty sure on the refuel, his thread about layer 2 solutions and kind of like, roll-ups versus side chains versus plasma and all that sort of stuff. And Jeff's obviously got a lot of great knowledge here, so I'm really happy to see him putting together more of these threads. So definitely go check this out. It'll be linked in the YouTube description. So I missed this tweet, I think, maybe 2 days ago from Ryan Watkins, where he said, and this was like a really, really good tweet. He said, the reason many people don't get crypto is because they're too busy looking for technical innovation rather than institutional innovation. The most exciting attributes of blockchains are about how we design and run internet institutions, not computational performance. And he followed this up by saying, this insight is foundational to crypto. And then he linked to two pieces that really drove the point home for him. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, because a lot of you may see out there a lot of different projects, especially quote-unquote Ethereum killers, advertising that they have better technology, that they've got more TPS, they're more decentralized because of this, blah, 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 right? We've seen this time and time and time again from all these different solutions. They'll never tell you the trade-offs, but they'll tell you the benefits. But the reason why none of these have taken off, or at least one of the major reasons, is because they think the developers and the communities behind this think that this is a technological revolution rather than an institutional kind of revolution and innovations across that front. think about it. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the two most unscalable at layer 1 blockchains, but they're also the most decentralized, and they're also responsible for some of the greatest kind of innovations in institutions in history. Think about what Ethereum has brought to the table in terms of DAOs. I mean, there's a great tweet here from Peter Pan that goes through the DAO history and timeline, where you can see like all of the experimentation and innovation that's happened on the DAO front, which is obviously integral to institutions and the innovation on institutions here, and how far we've come. I mean, we had the original DAO and the DAO hack and MakerDAO, and now we have things like Snapshot and Flamingo DAO and Pleaser DAO and things like that are just like forming, to kind of, I guess, like coordinate human capital and, monetary capital as well. So yeah, that is like the major reason why these networks live or die based on their communities, because the communities are the ones that build the institutions and hold them up and build the values directly into the protocol itself and directly into things like Ethereum. So and that's what a lot of these kind of like, I guess, Ethereum killers get wrong, I believe. They start from the technology point of view first, and they don't start from the human point of view. I think what Ethereum did was it really started from the human point of view. It focused on building a community first, and then it and in parallel it also did technological innovation. But it didn't prioritize that over its kind of, I guess, community building, because if you don't have like a layer 0, like a human layer that is strong and kind of like, distributed, decentralized, and full of the right people, then you're gonna go nowhere. You don't have a lasting community, and I think that's why Bitcoin has been so resilient as well. That even though people will call them Bitcoin is toxic or whatever, they're not toxic to themselves. They're pretty good as like a community, and they're pretty good at sticking to what they kind of like believe in to an extent, and kind of like innovating across that and adapting to different kind of narratives. I mean, Bitcoin as an inflation hedge wasn't a thing a couple of years ago. Now it is, because the community decided, well, this is what we want Bitcoin to kind of be. We want it to sell it as an inflation hedge because we believe that that's what it's very strong at. Whereas with Ethereum, Ethereum evolves all the time, but Ethereum evolves from a different point where the kind of like people doing stuff on the network, whether that be through applications or through DAOs or through institutions, set the kind of narratives for Ethereum as a wider community and network here. So that's what I think a lot of people miss. That's what, and it's very hard to miss. It's very easy to miss this if you're new to the ecosystem, because this is definitely deeper level stuff. You can't just come into the ecosystem day one and kind of see Ethereum, see it at like 15 transactions per second. See these other Ethereum killers saying, "Oh, we have like 10,000 transactions per second." Of course, the noob is, or a lot of the noobs are going to be like, "Well, why why isn't Ethereum doing this? Oh, Ethereum is old tech, right?" And then it takes them a while to kind of clue into exactly why Ethereum and Bitcoin are as big as they are and have retained their number 1 and 2 spots over all these other kind of Ethereum killers. And Bitcoin had its own killers back in the day, right? With Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV and a bunch of other kind of like forks out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Litecoin originally, I don't think it was positioned as a Bitcoin killer, but it was definitely positioned as an improvement over Bitcoin. And obviously that never materialized for a number of reasons, but I think that the main reason is that kind of human layer there. So really great tweet from Ryan here, and really great kind of tweet from Peter here with the DAO history, the history of DAOs, and how much kind of like innovation has gone on over the years, and how it's all culminated into what we see today, which I think is pretty good what we see today. I think compound governance is really great. There are some that are broken for sure. I'm not going to go over the ones that I think are broken, but I think generally we're getting better at DAOs, and we're getting better at human institutions using Ethereum here. So 0x API is now live on the Polygon network. So if you are a builder or a developer and you work with 0x on Ethereum, you can now work with it on Polygon, and you can integrate through kind of like 0x on Polygon to a bunch of different kind of projects here. These projects aren't all on Polygon just yet, but some of them are, which is really cool to see as well. So yeah, if you're a developer and you've been building on 0x, or you're interested in building on 0x with their kind of like API here, you can now do so on Polygon. So ChainLinkGod put out a really interesting tweet, and something that I actually spoke about on the Into the Ether podcast that's going out, today, the latest podcast, where I said the same thing he did, and I actually didn't see his tweet until after I said it. So it's really cool that we basically both agreed on this. But he said, in his tweet here, I believe the future will inevitably be a multi-chain world, but with two key nuances. It will be a power law distribution between chains, and adoption will concentrate to specific environments, and most chains will be L2 rollups that store data on L1 shards anchored to Ethereum. This is pretty much exactly what I said on the Into the Ether podcast, because basically we were talking about, like Eric and I were talking about how you can view kind of like this ecosystem, or at least different kind of chains, as like app stores. Now, if there's like 10 different chains, that means there's 10 different app stores. That means there's 10 different implementations of an app that the developers would have to maintain. So could you imagine the Aave kind of core team and governance maintaining 10 different instantiations of Aave across all of these chains for different environments and things like that? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the EVM is already won. I think the EVM is going to be the winner for the long term. And I think that there's going to be a point where it's basically like there's going to be a handful, maybe 2 or 3 different chains and L2s. Maybe it's, you could say Ethereum, Polygon, and one of the kind of, or 2 of the layer 2s as the main kind of places where these developers can actually afford to keep up with kind of like, 4 different things, where they deploy their upgrades to all 4 of them at once. But eventually maybe it becomes a thing where there's only like 2 or maybe 3 solutions that are kind of live, where the developers can keep up with, because they've got limited bandwidth, and maintaining kind of 10 different instances of the same app across different environments is a nightmare from a developer point of view. Like you can just kind of look at what happened with the app stores. The only 2 dominant app stores today in the West are the iOS App Store, obviously, and the Android Play Store. The Windows Store is dead, right? Windows Phone died as well, because they weren't able to get developers to adopt their technology. Developers didn't want to build for a third, operating system, and that's why you see the same thing, or at least a similar thing, with computers as well, like personal computing. Windows and Mac won that, but there's also like a hobbyist Linux community, and Linux obviously runs a lot of the server infrastructure of the world and things like that. But in terms of like home PCs, it's pretty much like mostly Windows, or at least it has been Windows for most of the last couple of decades. But it's also like Apple with Mac OS, and obviously like a lot of over the last kind of few years has trended towards mobile with iOS and things like that, and Android and stuff. But generally it's just like 2 or 3 major players, and that's it. There's not going to be, like, in terms of major platforms, there's not going to be 10 different platforms out there that have the majority of the network effects on them. There's going to be 2 or 3, and that's why it's called a power law distribution. And as ChainLinkGod says here, he believes most chains will be L2 rollups, and I also believe that most chains will be L2 rollups, because there is absolutely, in my mind, no reason to build your app on a chain, on a new chain with a new kind of like ecosystem, with a new programming language, with a new kind of like environment, rather than building it on a layer 2 secured by Ethereum, because you get all of the benefits of Ethereum's vast decentralization, security, community, battle testing, all of that sort of stuff, and you get you get the scalability of layer 2s, which have also been in heavy research and development for a very long time now, for many years now. So from that point of view, that this is exactly what I believe is gonna play out. And when people say multi-chain world, I don't think a lot of them are referring to this. I think a lot of them are trying to kind of meme the fact that there's going to be like millions or like lots of different blockchains out there. They're all going to be like talking to each other and everything like that. I mean, sure, they'll probably all talk to each other through different bridges, but most of them are going to be zombie towns. Like most of them are not going to have any activity on them, and we've already seen that play out. So yeah, from that point of view, I'm even more kind of like eager to see the L2s go live, to see kind of like what the power law distribution looks like even after a year, because liquidity in this industry moves incredibly quickly, and you can imagine like how fast liquidity is going to migrate to like these layer 2s, just how quickly it migrated to something like Polygon or BSC or kind of like any of these other EVM compatible chains. But at the end of the day, there's diminishing returns here, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the entire layer 2 space plays out. So Zapper put out a tweet today, welcome to the Zapperverse, which is basically welcoming everyone to their new Zapper kind of like gamification NFT features here. So I think they posted about it on, they did, on their learn.zapper.fi here, where basically you can complete different kind of like tasks in your Zapperify dashboard, such as adding liquidity, doing a swap, and kind of things like that, and earn NFTs and earn like EXP to level up here through quests and things like that. This is really, really cool. I like the idea of gamifying these apps because it gets people to use them more, obviously gets them to do things they may not have done in the past, teaches them to do new things, and keeps it like fresh and fun. I completed my daily and weekly quests. It reminds me very much of World of Warcraft. For anyone who's played, you used to have these kind of quests in World of Warcraft where you'd earn specific kind of like items or kind of like gear for your character. Now you're earning like EXP and NFTs within Zapperify, and they've also kind of teased here that, you can expect to see different types of rewards in the future, like exclusive merchandise, more NFTs, and potentially more than that. So there's a lot of people speculating on Zapper having a token. I disclosure here, I'm a seed investor in Zapper. I don't know, if there's going to be a token or anything like that. I don't have any special knowledge here. But definitely I think that it'll probably happen eventually, at some point in the future. But for now, you can do these quests, level up, get these really cool looking NFTs, and potentially do things that you haven't done before, like providing liquidity and stuff like that. This is a really good motivator, I think. So yeah, good work on this to the Zapperify team here. I'm really looking forward to seeing what else they do with this. So Value Disciple posted in the Index Co-op forum a really, really great kind of breakdown of what you can do with your DPI, with your DeFi Pulse Index. So if you're looking for ways to kind of make this a productive asset, there are so many things you can do here. Like if I'm just scrolling down the list here, you can see there's different things you can do, like provide liquidity, mine liquidity, yield farm, leveraged yield farm, lending it out on money markets and borrowing it on money markets, collateralizing debt positions with CDPs and things like that. And they also go over the risks associated with all of this, which is really, really cool. I think that generally any assets that don't have productivity is something that most people don't want to hold. I don't want to hold assets that don't have productivity, that I can't do things with, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to do with my assets like that I'm holding for the long term. I want to be able to do things with them so that I can kind of compound my gains, because I don't care about the short to medium term movements of these assets. But what I do care about is them not just sitting in my wallet doing nothing, especially if they're a DeFi asset. So for me, what I hold, a lot of, I hold, ETH, obviously, and I put that to work. Traditionally, I put that to work with yield farming, but these days, I'm moving more and more of it into eth2 staking. I have like SNX that I bought a while ago that I'm staking, of course. I have index tokens, which I can't do anything with just yet, but like that's just an exception to the rule because I'm so bullish on the project because of the fact that I'm close to the set team, which it plays a big part in the Index Co-op here. But there's a bunch of other things that I have as well. Like I have my inverse finance airdrop that I'm staking. I have some LLCX tokens which I'm farming with. So I don't like just tokens sitting in my wallet doing nothing. And I think that's true for a lot of people out there. And I think that's just going to become more and more true as time goes on. So yeah, great post here on the DPI and what you can do with it. Really cool to see this, and I hope to see more kind of, I guess, protocols and token kind of like projects with tokens do this and show people what they can do with their token. I'm pretty sure Yearn did this recently, and this was the inspiration for this. Yeah, I went through this on the Refuel, what you can do with your YFI. So this is basically inspired by that. And I really hope to see more teams doing this for their tokens as well. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely keep you guys up to date on that. But for now, I think that's it. So thank you everyone for watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the newsletter. Join the Discord channel. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.